I'll be honest with you, I've really been putting off writing this review, so apologies about its lateness. As has been stated in the past, Enter Shikari are one of my favourite bands ever, and I've been resisting putting pen to paper and setting in stone my official position on this album. But enough about me, onto the album. Nothing is True and Everything is Possible is the 6th album from Enter Shikari and was released on the 17th of April 2020. I feel for Shikari. Releasing an album in the pandemic is obviously not ideal, but there's no way they can move it to being after the pandemic. They obviously had their promotional and marketing plan in place before the pandemic hit, so it'd be very difficult to move any of this. People will obviously want to listen to music in lockdown, but the tour, where a lot of musicians make their money, won't be able to go ahead for a good while. I feel really bad for Shikari, because this is a great album. The album opener, The Great Unknown, all caps, is very quintessential modern Enter Shikari. The song is absolutely massive and somehow sounds both doom-laden and hopeful. If there's anyone out there, just give me a sign. If there's anyone out there, I shout into the great unknown, is the main line of the chorus, and you can feel the desperation and longing in Raoul's voice. The body of the song feels very rave-inspired, the constant rhythm underneath it all driving us forward, feeling like a heartbeat or the tick of a clock, marching you towards your end, stranded. It feels very appropriate for the time that we're living in. The switch to crossing the Rubicon might be jarring to some, the light bounciness completely at odds with the great unknown. Raoul sings in a higher register in the verses, giving it an airy-fairy quality. This soon gives way to more booming vocals in the bridge before the chorus. Raoul's voice gives almost religious minister vibes, with big chords and cymbal crashes accentuating the points that he's making, sounding a lot like a stadium rock band, very different to the rave-inspired Great Unknown. The chorus is catchy and bouncy. I always seem to find myself nodding my head side to side along with the beat. The outro has these layered vocals singing different parts, very reminiscent of radio rock or indie pop, and perfect for being played in front of a sea of humanity, all clapping their hands in a festival field. Next up is The Dreamer's Hotel, which already has its own review for me. Go back to episode 7 in this series, or check out my blog, link in the description. So I won't go over the same ground again, but in short, an absolutely massive tune. Grimy verses that make you want to throw hands with God themselves, and a beautiful and catchy electronic chorus that is tailor-made to fill a stadium. Maybe the strangest song so far is next, with Waltzing Off to the Face of the Earth, 1, Crescendo. As the title suggests, this is done in a waltz time signature, which is really not very common in modern popular music. It's striking at first, with a strong brass horn being the first thing that greets us in the opening of the song. It sits in this classical styling for a little while, but as the full title of the song suggests, it is building towards this crescendo where the waltz pattern is maintained, but this time being played by synthesizers as the song reaches its epic peak. Very reminiscent of film scores or something. There's then this elongated brass section outro to bring us down from all this epicness and scale. Modern Living, all lowercase with 4 full stops at the end, has one of the catchiest lyrics on the whole album. I'm forever saying, we're apocalyptics, drinking gin and tonics, lying in the flowers, counting down the hours. Deep wailing bass lines combined with sparkly guitar, a reasonably slow beat, and the great lyrical refrain to make what I can anticipate will, at some point in the future, hopefully, be a massive, head-bopping crowd pleaser. After this is the really short song, Apocalyptics Anonymous, which seamlessly blends from Modern Living when listening to it in album order. It's almost entirely drum and bass, and has a great voice-modulated synthesizer outro. The electronic drum beat is hypnotic, and the chaos that closes the song out is just fantastic. The doom returns, and it's going to be great for being in the mosh pit. The Pressure's On is up next, and take things down a peg slightly, and gives us a bit of breathing space from the assault that the album has been so far. The soft vocals of Raoul easing us through the song. The song builds towards a big electronic break at the end. It almost sounds like one of those top 40 summer anthems. You know the ones. You can see this being used in an advert to advertise the upcoming football season or something. Reprise 3 of just a short break in proceedings, a modulated voice over what sounds like a piano, letting us pause and consider the album so far. But it also builds and bleeds seamlessly into Tina. Tina, or T-I-N-A, starts with these tinkling synth patterns that sound sort of like bells. Then the drum rolls and Raoul's distorted vocals and electronic patterns come in before the guitar. The full band joins in for a fantastic headbanging section. Proper dance floor filler, rave business. Shikari are sounding less like a rock band here, and more like the genre-breaking masters that they really are. The intricacies on display are so captivating. The drums, the electronics, the synths. Shikari are a force in modern music, unlike anything else. There are few other bands on the face of the earth that could craft this kind of song as well as they can. I'm in love. Elegy for Extinction is an entirely instrumental and almost classical song. It starts with these lovely galloping strings. It almost sounds like a song you might hear in a Disney animated film or something. All the woodland animals running together to go and save our hero or something. Again, showing the diversity of sounds and genres that Shikari are not just able to create in, but create successfully and effectively in. There are some soaring strings and horns with big crashes, as if we're stumbling on an epic city or castle in a film. We've found the mystery we're looking for. Then it turns darker towards the end, like we stumble upon the villain of the story. Deep Imperial March style string section before petering out. Marionette's 1, The Discovery of Strings, brings us back with some Latin-inspired horns and drums, and Raul's vocals return. It's a slow build of a song, and there's a big drop about a minute in. Grimy, but not on the same level to me as the verses in Dreamer's Hotel. The chorus hits with these jungle-inspired rhythms and modulated vocals, again somewhat reminiscent of top 40s bangers, and might not totally be out of place on something like Capital FM, but it's the verses where the sort of comparison falls down slightly. Marionette's 2, The Ascent, somewhat bleeds through from 1, but it's not nearly as seamless as the other bleed-through songs on this album. Maybe it's just that it sounds tonally similar, and obviously it's a two-parter song that makes me think they bleed through. Part 2 has Raul's vocals far more included, and not modulated to the same degree that they are in Part 1. The song picks up in this beautiful, inspiring chorus. It sounds so epic and grand, and upward-looking to the sky, while still having a human grounding to it. The Ascent name really fits this section, makes you feel weightless and free. Satellites begins as a more stripped-back song than many featured on this album so far. Maybe the most traditional rock band that Shikari have sounded on the album. Electronics and backing vocals join in eventually, and it's an interesting look at a quote-unquote normal band might take this song. But Shikari just turn it up to 11. All these little frills really make the most of what is obviously a great song at its base. It's such a headbanger. The King opens with Raul at maybe his shoutiest on the whole record, and yet the music doesn't make this sound nearly as harsh-edged as it might otherwise. The chorus is really easy to sing, or rather shout along to, and I can bet it'll be a favourite for singing back at the crowd whenever gigs finally resume. It's got this really doomy outro which sounds cool as well. The album closes with Waltzing Off the Face of the Earth 2, Piangavol, and it's a companion to the other waltzing. This opens with crowd sounds in what I suppose is supposed to be some sort of music hall, well, a classical music performance might be. There's even a cough before some sort of wind instrument starts playing. I'm afraid I'm not expert enough to be able to identify it. The piece builds with what sounds like the soundscape of a rainforest, with Raul explaining into the void as well. It's beautiful and dreamlike. You feel like you're floating in water. The dial adjusts as different sounds slip in and out of the song. You can feel this at the closing of the song. The only lyrics calling back to the album's name. Nothing is true, and we're waltzing off the face of the earth. A peaceful close to a beautiful album. My top 3 songs from this album are The Great Unknown, The Dreamer's Hotel, and Tina, so do give them a listen if you get a chance. This is a great album, and even hit number 2 on the UK album charts, showing the popular appeal that Shikari are now able to gather. I would implore you to give it a listen, and it sits comfortably among the pantheon of great Enter Shikari albums. This was a review show. I think your experience will be enhanced by hearing in full the songs featured in the show, which you can get hold of from your favourite music shop or online platform. Please support artists by buying their music or using services that guarantee artists a revenue. This episode was written and produced by me, Stephen Lemontree. Our outro music is Simplicity by Macrophore Music. If you ever want to contact us, you can do so on Instagram and Twitter at nevetslt or email nevetslt@gmail.com. That's NEVETSLT. Life is buying new books to read before you finish reading the ones you bought last time. We'll see you next week.